welcome back to our Spring Boot project series. So far, in this series, we have focused entirely on building the backend for our TradeX application. We designed our database, created entities and repositories with services and controllers and required details. Now it's time to move to the next stage of the project. Now, before we start, I want to clarify something important. This series is focused on backend development. If we start building an entire front-end application from scratch here, uh, we will spend a lot of hours here. So to save the time, I have prepared a React front-end for this project. So don't worry, we are not going to ignore the front-end completely. I will explain every important file that directly interact with our backend so that you understand how a front-end developer consumes the APIs. And after that, we will configure both applications so they can communicate with each other successfully. The link for the front-end project and the back-end project of GitHub will be pinned in the comments and also entered in the description. So you can refer from there. So let's take a quick overview on our front-end project structure. So here there here is the main front-end folder. In that folder, in SRC, the first folder, which is a layout, that defines a common structure. Here we have a auth layout in which the authentication page is there, then the main layout, then the protected root. These components ensure that user cannot access protected page unless they are authenticated. Then the pages folder, in which all pages like dashboard, funds, holdings, then login, positions, profile, and register. Then here the protected root, and here the most important file, that is api.js and authentication service.js. Let's first look at api.js. So this is probably the smallest file in the project, and here we have created a constant called API base URL. Here we have created a constant called API base URL. So this constant stores the base URL of our Spring Boot backend. So we have mentioned that our main Spring Boot will run on this 8080/API. This means that every request made by our frontend will start from this address. Now you might ask, why don't we simply write this URL inside the auth service.js? So for now we have only the one API. But imagine our application has 50 or even 100 APIs. So if we hard code it there, then if a scenario was encountered in that we have to change the URL, then it is very difficult for us to maintain this type of code. So for this, always prefer to write a URL in a separate file. Now let's open the auth service.js. So here the very first line says import API based URL from /API. Means we are importing this. The file name is API. Okay. Earlier we exported the API based URL. Here we are exported. Now we are importing it into the file. This way, every service in our application uses the same backend URL without duplicating the code. The first function the first function is register user. So notice that it is declared as a async. Async, async simply means this function performs an operation that takes some time. So it will take some time, but execute it. Okay. So async simply means this function has performed an operation that will take some time. So in this case, an HTTP request was sent to the backend. The request was post. But since the network is not that much instant, or we can say not that much fast, so this tells that uh, okay, you can proceed the next function, but this will also execute in parallel. Okay. Uh, Now here we are using the built-in function fetch. Uh, Now you can notice here that we are not writing the full URL here. We are just importing this. This is one syntax of JS. Then now we have created for auth register in our controller. So that part is this, and we are making the post request. Now we are sending our content in the JSON format. This will tell Spring Boot that data will come in the JSON format, and recall that we have declared at the rate request body. So that will convert this JSON to required DTO object. So this is just to alert our Spring Boot that this is the data will come in the JSON format. Then here is the main body. Uh, this will contain the main actual data. So here we convert a JavaScript object into a JSON by using this function. So now all this was uh, collected in this variable response, and now returning this response in the JSON format because our frontend will read in JSON format only. So similarly for login user, post request, then the login path here is declared same as the register user. Then here also the for get profile. Also we are fetching from this URL get profile, and here just one extra thing that we have we are passing user ID, and for that user ID returning the response. Now this response will be used to display the information on our front end. Now for the update profile, again the same thing, passing two parameters, first user ID then profile data. The profile data will consist of the main body, and this will be the put request, and this will again return in the JSON format. Similarly with the change password, we are passing two parameters, user ID password, and it will fetch, collect, and return whoever called this function. So that's it. Now let's see our the main file, that app.jsx. So in this file, here there are the main routes. So these are the routes. So basically on slash login, the login page will open, slash register, register page will open, and here some conditions are applied when to open which files. That means like I guess this is before the login and after the login. This is for the logout, and this is for the login. So that is the thing that was covered in the front end point of view. Now that we have understood the important files, let's run the front-end application. So to run this application, first open the terminal in the front-end path. So now it is open and put the command npm install, then npm run dev. Now it will run. So it is running on this address. So we are opening that address. So, okay, this will here now you can see our front end. So now for to see what inside, first we want to sign in, but for sign in we want to create a account. So for creating this account we need details. Let assume we can try to do this, but it will not work now. Let's see what error will come. It will say that failed to load resource and failed to fetch. The error is that failed to load resource net error connection refused from this URL. This error comes because we haven't run our backend application till now. So now let's see how we can connect our backend to this frontend. So before moving further, let's discuss one thing that now our React application is running on 5173 address and our backend is running on 8080. So although both applications are running on the same computer, but they are running on the different ports. And in web development, changing the port means changes the origin. So now here one term will come that same origin policy means browser enforce something which prevents one origin from accessing another unless the permission is explicitly granted. So why we are talking about this? Let's see. Before looking at the code, let's first understand the problem. Right now, our Spring Boot application is running on one server and our React application will run on another. For example, our Spring Boot is running on 8080 port and React is running on 5173 port. So even if they are running on the same PC, but from the browser's perspective, they are considered as a two different origins because their port numbers are different. So in web development, an origin is defined by three things: protocol, domain, and port. So if any one of these things changes, the browser will treat it as a completely different origin. Now you might wonder, if both applications are running on my own computer, why doesn't the browser allow the request? The answer is security. Modern browser implements something called same origin policy. So this policy prevents a website from making requests to another origin unless that server has explicitly allowed for a particular port. This protects user from malicious activities. So to solve this problem, Spring Boot allows us to define a global course configuration. So that's exactly that we have done here. So I have here created one package named config. In that, I have created one class called core config. So in this class, first we have to declare one annotation at the rate configuration. So this tells Spring that this class contains application configuration. So after declaring this, whenever the Spring Boot will run, first it will execute this file, then at the rate b. So bean will return a course filter. Since it's a Spring Bean, Spring automatically creates it and register it when this application starts. Now at the rate b. In Spring Boot, a bean is simply an object whose life cycle is managed by the Spring framework. So in our case, this will return a core filter. Inside this bean, we create a new core configuration object. This object uh, defines the rule for which front-end applications are allowed to access our backend. Now, allowed origin. Since that exactly where our React application is running, the browser will now allow communication between these two applications. Next, we are allowing all request headers. This include header like authorization and any custom headers. We will see what exactly it is later. Then we are allowing all methods like HTTP methods. Uh, for example, get, then post method, then put method, then patch method, then delete method. Then we are also allowing the credentials. So credential and header will we will use it later. So basically credentials are related to the authentication tokens, then cookies, and for session information. Uh, for cookies and tokens and for session information. Then this is called as a register configuration. So think of this as the place where Spring stores all of our core rules. Here it will say. Now this, so here we are registering our configuration for every endpoint. The double asterisk means every URL. That means hash API users, or that means double asterisk means for every URL. That it may be a slash API register, slash API slash auth. It may be anything. Finally, we return the course filter. Once Spring Boot starts, this filter become part of this required process pipelines. So for now, we have here declared because we are working locally. But whenever we want to deploy this server on server, then here we have to enter our domain name. The domain name like example.com or likewise. So now our backend is fully prepared to communicate with the React application. So now uh, we can confirm through running this application. So I am running this application. Okay, we are now moving on our front end. So here we are creating one account. Let's see whether our backend will respond or not. So yes, and that means our backend has successfully responded. Let's see now while signing. Okay, now our signing has happened. So now these are some front end things that I have prepared. So this is the navbar for this is for our dashboard. Here on left side, we will list all our stocks, then here the holdings, positions first, and here the profile. And in my profile, we can see the profile, and here for the change password, the here for the change password, then here we can edit the profile. Okay. So you can change according to you. But for now, we have just what we have created is just a simple front end to understand the backend easily. Now, so finally, we started both application and verified that they are ready to work together. At this point, our project setup is complete. The front end is ready, the backend is ready, and the communication between them has been ready. And from next time, we don't need the postman and we can verify ourselves from our front end itself.